Hello and welcome to another daily dose of SirToshi's news. Today's date is Tuesday the 28th of November 2023, the year of BSV. Buy BSV.live, the best place to buy Bitcoin SV online, the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin. Right, I've got a guest with me today. It is Bitcoin Maxi, the guy that is making a splash on the scene, and I think he's going to be a very aggressive, genuine Bitcoin promoter. So this is the first time we've chatted. We're going to record it, going to post it out, and it should be a lot of fun. So welcome to the show, Mr. Maxi.
How's it going?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, so can you just tell us, as you were telling me, your intro as to how you got into Bitcoin to start with?
Well, I first found out about Bitcoin. I was looking into alternative ways to buy weed because my dealer was very expensive, and I was like, "This is crazy, spending so much money on weed." And so I was like looking on the internet how to get weed on the internet. So I thought maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I was only
like Amazon.
I was only like in my teens, I was a kid, so
Yeah.
That's basically what I was doing. And I think it was in the Times, and it was like, oh, people are using this Silk Road marketplace and getting stuff off there. And so that's when I first found out about Bitcoin. It was like, I think it was like $7 or something.
Wow.
And then I made my first purchase at like $12.
Oh, how long did it take to get from $7 to $12?
Oh, a couple of days or something. By the time I first saw it, and by the time I was like, oh, maybe I should get a little bit, it was like $12. And then within like a week or so, it was like $35.
Whoa.
But around that time, I decided this is stupid. Like how people are, I was like, the government are going to be onto this. Law enforcement's going to be onto this. This is just illegal stuff. Like no one who's actually legitimate is using this stuff. And that's basically the rhetoric that was in the media. So that was my first mistake as like a new investor. I didn't even know I was an investor at that time. I was just like a kid. So so yeah, that's the first mistake, is like new investors listen to the mainstream media and their narrative. So that I picked up on their narrative, and I'm like, this is just going to get banned. And then whenever someone brought Bitcoin up to me, like after, like in between that point and that reaching $1,000, I was like, oh no, it's just going to get banned. It's just going to get banned. But then, and even at that time, if you were making YouTube videos about it or posting about it on social media, it would just get taken down and your channel would get deplatformed. So I was like, oh, the government obviously don't like it. They're taking down channels. They're taking down content. They don't want people getting into this stuff because it's obviously just going to get banned. And then when it hit $1,000, I was like, oh, it's not going to get banned. Like, it's obviously, this is here to stay. It's $1,000. Like, I remember when it was like $12. So
what a return.
That's when I was ready to get in. And it was a big problem getting in, because Coinbase were saying you can only buy this much every week. Like it wasn't like now where you can invest tens of grand every week or whatever it is. Like they had severe limits.
Wow.
So I wanted to start buying it like 1,000, and I couldn't really get in like a big way until like 4,000, and then I was still buying at like 7,000 and stuff. But during that time, I was at Tony Robbins Business Mastery conference. And so everyone there, I was like, oh, they're big business people. They're like smart. They know what they're talking about. And one of the people that was at that event started shilling this USI tech to me. And they're like, oh yeah, you can get massive returns. They're investing in mining, and they have this special software that mines different coins and switches to the most profitable coin. And
great
bro,
stories.
I fell for it.
Yeah.
And I was buying these Bitcoin packs and just basically sending my Bitcoin to someone else and getting numbers on a screen.
Like OneCoin.
Yeah, it was, and then I got rugged, and I think it was like February 2018 or something. That's when they stopped withdrawing. And that bear market was really bad for me, because I went from six figures to
Oof.
zero.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
man. Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Well, I dealt with it better than my mum did. I think we should get her on. How did she deal with that?
Oh, what,
But
was she gutted for you, or did she actually lose herself?
she turned on me. I was
Oh,
I was enemy number one in the family. You know.
what is that? Because what had she given you? Had she given you
Well,
currency to invest, or was she just
well,
like?
yeah, my grandparents were when they died, I got money to invest. So
Mm.
she if it was up to her, I would have left it in real estate
Oh yeah,
instead of getting
yeah, yeah.
into BTC scam. So
Oh,
yeah, it was
oh
a
my
bit
god.
crazy.
What did she? What did she do? What put you on the naughty step for a few hours each day?
Yeah, just shouting at me like almost every day, and like
Oh,
nothing I did was good enough, and I needed to get a job and pull my life together. And
mm.
but I mean, when you go to zero, like there's from six figures, there's almost no coming back.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
when
yeah,
your
yeah.
back's against the wall like that, that's when I hit YouTube hard. I hit YouTube hard last bull run,
Mm.
and but mainly with XRP because I realized BTC is a scam. Like it's too slow. I was comparing it to like Bitcoin when I first got in. I remember Bitcoin was fast. It was cheap.
Mm.
I didn't remember these high fees or anything like that. I remember like if you wanted to send this much Bitcoin, that address got that much Bitcoin, and there was no. I didn't remember like crazy fees or anything.
Mm.
And so I was like BTC. Part of me knew like BTC. That's not Bitcoin. That's not the original Bitcoin I invested in.
Mm.
And then I saw all the propaganda, and it's like, oh, Bitcoin goes this fast, and XRP goes this fast, and Ethereum goes this fast, and now I know that they made BTC so bad on purpose, and they made it rocket to number one on purpose,
Yeah, yeah.
just so that they could create all these other coins, so that we can say, oh, look how good these ones are in comparison.
Mm.
But I find it shocking that none of the BTC community have come forward and said like, hey, I've been duped, I've been scammed, this isn't the real Bitcoin. Like none of them are coming forward with their story about uh changing their perspective,
Well, the thing
which
is,
it
though.
makes me start to think like maybe it's a bit of a scam. Like are these people being paid?
Mm.
Who's or are they accepting money from nefarious characters in BTC, and that's why they want
Yeah,
BTC to
yeah.
succeed?
Yeah, yeah. All those things are a possibility. I mean, another one is also generally they've staked their social media careers on this thing. I mean, can you imagine
I
being in
know.
this thing for that long and getting all these people, all these followers, listening and hanging on to every word that he's saying, and then go, "Oh, sorry guys, I got it wrong." Can you
I
imagine?
know. I know,
Oh.
but it's so much better to just drop your ego and admit that you were wrong in the
Yeah, but I
long run.
mean,
Like before it's January and it's too late. Like after then, they're going to lose so much credibility.
well, I mean, do you not think that they're worried about people coming after him? I mean, can you imagine? You've been pumping this thing for years and years and years, talking absolute shit, and people have, made financial decisions, even though it's not financial advice, based on the information that you've been giving them, and suddenly you go, "Oh yeah, sorry about it, mate, I was wrong." you
Yeah,
know,
if I had a massive following like some of these guys do, and my face was out there, and I was promoting this BTC scam for years, I'd be worried. I would be worried, and that's why I believe a lot of them are hiding in Dubai, because you know how it's so safe there. Because if you do anything wrong, you get locked up. Well,
right?
they know they're not going to get attacked or jumped in Dubai.
I see. I didn't realize that. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. That would make sense, But do you know the one of the reasons that they've corrupted BTC and made it economically worthless because you can't use it, and then created all these shitcoins that are like somewhat usable, even though they have no economic value, is to just simply cause divide and conquer, because people come at it with different bits of logic. They're just like, look, BTC doesn't work. How can it possibly be worth anything? You've got this other coin over here, let's take XRP for example, and they decide, well, at least you can move it, and it does X amount of transactions per second. But then you've got other people saying, oh no, well, Bitcoin can scale, but we need this Lightning network. And it's just like, okay, well, you've got the Lightning network, but all that's doing is taking fees away from the miners, which means the miners eventually won't be able to support themselves, and then Bitcoin will collapse, and all you've got left is the Lightning network, which is another centralized project that just isn't working. And then because they've come up with, and again, I personally think they're responsible for creating the majority of these shitcoins and just spinning different yarns about them, because people think that their security is like stocks on the stock market. So different businesses, have got different USPs, different unique selling points. Oh, this business does that. Oh, we've got an idea that does this, blah, 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 blah. So people are thinking that these different bits of data do different things. Well, they're not. They're literally bits of data. In fact, they're all NFTs. Every single crypto token is an NFT. But we know who's got the patent for NFTs, because you can't patent blockchain, because blockchain is just simply a process of uploading digital information onto a network. But what you can patent is the technology built on that process, which is NFTs, smart contracts, whatever else you can put on these things, and it's Craig that's got the blockchain, the intellectual property rights for that. So it's when hopefully if he wins this case, he's going to be we've got the NFT patent, so therefore you can have your shitcoin, but you can only have your shitcoin on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only place where your market can exist safely, because it's the only way to actually secure data. That's kind of like what it is. But yeah, if you wanna ask me questions about how Bitcoin is a commodity, we can get into that if you like.
Yeah, and then also they couldn't really have. So I saw this on Twitter yesterday that people are creating these shitcoins on BSV. But here's the thing, so Craig's really into seizing crypto and stuff. And if he sees that people are making all these scam coins on BSV, he any funds that they make, he's just gonna reallocate them. No,
he won't reallocate them. But being Aspergis, I strongly suspect he'll just simply report them for being scammers, and
okay.
it's kind of obvious who they are. People have got to learn to take responsibility for their own actions. They know that they've made a shitcoin. And they know that there is absolutely nothing back in it, and they're selling digital bits of crap. So if you're going to do that, particularly on BSV, you can be tracked and traced. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And everybody in BSV knows who the creators of these coins are. So, the thing is, people don't understand the difference between Bitcoin and all these other shitcoins. The reason Bitcoin has value is because you can only access its network via the token. That's why you buy it. So you buy Bitcoin in order to use the network, in order to upload data, to have sovereignty over it. Because a commoditized data network can only be created one way, which means there will only be one digital commodity, and every other token on top of it only has the value of the asset that it secures your entitlement to. So if you've created a token that doesn't entitle anybody to anything, like it doesn't represent an asset like gold or silver or a house or shares in a company or anything like that, then that's securities fraud. And that's what pretty much every single shitcoin is.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to explain how they've securitized BTC?
What do you mean securitized?
Well, they've turned it into a security through SegWit and putting the 1 megabyte block cap in place.
Yes. So explain SegWit, because it's like separating the witness so that people can't actually see who sent the transaction or something. Yeah.
So it's like this. So the clue is kind of like in the name. if something is a commodity, it is common to everyone. And if something is common to everyone, there can't be any central point of authority, control, or influence on the network. So the way you transfer accountability from the miners who economically sustain the network onto the users is by making sure that all the users have a digital signature attached to all of their uploads. So that's what transfers accountability and responsibility from the miners onto the users. So therefore all the users are now equally accountable, because they're saying, yeah, I uploaded that information, that's got my digital signature attached to it, I can prove it. Whereas what Core have done is they've gone, actually what we'll do is we will segregate, which is literally divide the signature data from the transaction data, and that's the equivalent to tearing off the signature strip on a contract. Now, if that contract is not signed and doesn't have a valid signature on it, it's null and void. And it's exactly the same with a Bitcoin transaction. If you make a transaction to somebody and your digital signature is not on it, you cannot prove that you made it. And therefore, if a dispute arises in that trade that you can't resolve yourselves, if you want to, you can present the evidence to a third party who can solve the dispute for you. Whereas if you're trying to solve that dispute and the first thing they say is, well, can you prove you made that transaction? If your digital signature is not on it, you can't prove shit. So therefore, that transaction is completely null and void and invalid, and who's responsible for it are the people who actually removed the signatures from it. Because they have got control of the signatures. They're downloading the signatures. In fact, they could even reassign blame if they wanted to. So if somebody uploads an inappropriate image of a child onto the network, where does accountability lie if there is no digital signature attached to that image? Well, it lies with the organisation who removed those signatures, which is Blockstream. And that's why they were just like, oh, hold on a minute. Now that we've segregated the signatures from the transaction data, we are, responsibility and accountability for everything on that network lies with us. So if somebody does upload an inappropriate image of a child, we're on the hook for it. And that's why they were sort of like shitting it a bit when ordinals came along. They were just like, oh, hold on a minute. These guys have cracked away and found a way to put images on the network that we're responsible for. So the moment somebody uploads an inappropriate image, we're on the hook.
Yeah, so do you think that these Blockstream people that have forked the network, do you think they'll go to jail or just hide behind the corporation and it's just going to be swept under the rug?
Ooh, good. Again, speculation. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But what I can tell you is that tampering with signatures, whether they're wet ink signatures or digital signatures, is fraud. Straight up fraud. That's what SegWit is. They removed people's digital signatures from their transactions. That is fraud. And there's no getting away from it, and there is no time limit on fraud. And not only have they committed fraud by tampering with the signatures, they've also removed all economic value. So can you imagine? BTC has got a market cap of like $500 billion right now. So effectively, that's $500 billion worth of fraud. Bernie Madoff hasn't got shit on these Blockstream devs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme was 60 billion. Theirs is 500 billion.
It's massive. People are gonna commit suicide and stuff.
And also the powers that be have encouraged pension companies to get in on it. And they've encouraged other people to actually sort of encourage their, 401ks to go in on it. Basically what they're trying to do is make it too big to fail. And this is why it's going to court. And this is why they were so desperate for Craig to move a coin. Because they know that if he moved a coin, that would flip the entire market, and every single finger, all these people who lost billions of dollars would be pointed at him and hold him responsible for it when they're the bastards who've done it. The fingers should be pointed at them. Fingers should
saying that he owes the money and stuff.
Well, it's just that nobody wants to be responsible for popping the largest bubble in financial history. And if Craig was,
I don't give a shit.
well, if Craig was to move a coin, I would strongly speculate that would put his life in danger.
Oh,
so
you think it's that serious when it comes to that?
Absolutely.
I
absolutely.
guess that's another reason. Like, I don't want my face everywhere.
Yeah. That too. Whereas if Craig can go
because
to court,
because the original Bitcoin protocol people will be like the enemy of so many people because they won't want to get into the quote unquote new Bitcoin. They're like, we got scammed in the old Bitcoin. We don't want to support the new Bitcoin.
Well, the thing is, everybody is going to be financially incentivized to get into Bitcoin because the largest holders of Bitcoin, the largest concentration of Bitcoin is with the miners. And the miners have spent probably hundreds of millions of dollars on their mining operations. They can't afford to lose their investment. And so they are going to come charging into BSV because they can't afford to lose their investment. And if Craig is recognized as being Satoshi and the creator...
You're saying that the BSV miners are also holding a lot of BTC and they're going to come charging into BSV.
I'm saying the BTC miner, well, all the shitcoin miners, BTC, BCH, eCash, Bitcoin Gold, they're all going to come charging into BSV from fear of losing their investment, and so the entire market is going to follow.
Yeah, because they've got so much capital, they'll be able to pay the media networks to promote it.
Well, not even that, mate. Literally, they are not if you've been watching the mining over the last couple of years, Craig and Calvin are purposely economically incentivizing these other shitcoiners not to mine BSV. BSV has been consistently 10 to 20% less profitable to mine than BTC.
And they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah, they're doing it on purpose to starve them of their BSV supply, so they're not holding any. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine the rush in?
The miners don't have any BSV supply.
Yeah,
the miners mining these other chains, so then they need to FOMO in to replenish the bags that they should have had.
Yep, exactly. Can you imagine?
So do you think the mining difficulty, this shift is going to happen during the halving, or do you think it's going to happen in January, or sometime between those two dates?
I again speculating. I would say very, very likely it will definitely. Well, I would say it's very, very likely going to be one of those dates. But this court case is absolutely imperative because it holds so much significance, because every single other court case is pending on it. All the court cases that Craig had against the core devs and the exchanges, like Kraken and Coinbase for passing off, are all rolled into this COPA case. And the COPA case is basically saying, because this is open source, we don't feel that it's fair for you to have blockchain patents, which is why they're calling him a patent troll. They're like, we should be able to use this on all of our shitcoins. And Craig is like, no, because your shitcoins are all centrally controlled and they have no value whatsoever. The only commoditized data protocol is Bitcoin, which is BSV, and therefore if everybody uses that, nobody has any control of it. And so if you want to use these patents, you can use it on this BSV network that nobody controls, and therefore the playing field is equal and fair. On your shitcoins that you control, where you either have control of the signatures, or you're deleting the signatures, or you can make changes without anybody knowing about it, that's not fair. Why would anybody want to build on a platform that somebody can change, and make alterations to that nobody else knows about?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's just like, look, you can build all this, all this stuff that you want. You can use it, but you can only use it on BSV because BSV is the only level playing field.
Yeah. So N-Chain has a patent that's for a virtual currency system. Like, that's quite specific. Like, any crypto could fall under the category of a virtual currency system. Does that mean if he was to enforce his patents that the entire crypto space would just go to, like, it would be declared illegal.
Well, it's like this. So things like probably like IOTA and Hedera Hashgraph that don't use blockchain, who
That
knows what
don't
they...
use his patents, they would be allowed to survive.
Well, yeah, yeah. But the thing
Okay.
is though, data can only be commoditized one way. So, and this is what I'm trying to explain to people. In order to make sure something is common, there cannot be any central point of authority, control, or failure. And the only way that can happen is if there are multiple parties economically sustaining the network. And then to ensure that there is no collusion, there must be economic competition between the parties. And the only way you can create economic competition is with proof of work. That's it. So each operation has to be economically competitive to one another. So Hedera Hashgraph and IOTA are completely centralized systems. So their tokens are security offerings. But chances are, again, I mean, I haven't looked too much into them, but I very much suspect that their tokens that they're using on whatever, distributed ledger technology they've come up with, I suspect that their tokens are still using NFT technology, which Craig has the patent for. Because the entire shitcoin market is built on the creation of digital tokens, which are non-fungible tokens.
Oh, so like any token, like an ERC20, for example, is considered an NFT.
Well, Bitcoin itself is an NFT. They're all based on NFT technology. So yeah, all these ERC20 tokens, all these shit JPEGs that are going up, they're all built on NFT technology, and Bitcoin itself is an NFT digital token. So Craig has the patent for NFTs, which means every single digital token has to disappear.
Wow.
Yeah, mate, it's massive. It's massive.
Wow. Yeah, so people are talking like this bull run that's coming up, this is going to be the last bull run. But I believe, like, what if the last bull run was the last bull run, for all these other coins?
Yeah, I mean, again, Kathy Wood from ARK Investment has already been caught dumping her shares in the Grayscale BTC fund that they've got. So what they're doing is, again, particularly Kathy Wood, and I strongly suspect Michael Saylor soon, they're telling everybody, oh yeah, and like you've got Adam back. And again, they're all promoting price, which is financial advice. So they're all going to be on the hook for this. And then you've got Michael Saylor telling you to like go into the bank, get in debt, remortgage your house, just buy more Bitcoin. I mean, it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous what they're saying. But again, they're not going to come out and say, oh shit, we've lost faith in BTC, because they're in on it. They're holding massive bags. So if you want to make sure that the liquidity is still there while you're cashing out, you're going to tell the market, oh, I still believe in this thing. Yeah, we think it's got good, strong potential. We think $100,000 in, next halving, whatever. And you're going to be saying that while you're cashing out, going, oh, shit, we've got, tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in this that we somehow need to cash out without the market catching on to what we're doing.
Yeah, and you can't dump it all at once or it rugs it.
Yeah, massively. So they are literally skating on thin ice.
Yeah, that's the problems with having so much capital to invest in crypto, is like you can overinvest and you've not got enough liquidity to get out.
Yeah. And again, because you can see everything on the network. So you can see all these large amounts of BTC, being moved or being dumped. And then that literally gets, because you've got sleuths looking at all these things. I mean, people have got so much money on the line. Every day you've got people looking at this. Oh, what's the market doing? Keep an eye on these people, keep an eye on those people, see what they're doing. If suddenly smells that, somebody sees that Kathy Wood, is dumping loads of her GBTC, sooner or later the market's going to be like, I wonder why they're doing that. But the thing is, some of these shitcoiners are so stupid, like literally shitcoiners shit for brains. They can't understand why Kathy Wood is selling her position in the Grayscale Trust. They're just like, oh well, why would she be selling her position in this Grayscale Trust? Oh, it's because she wants to create her own ETF, of course.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she's reallocating funds for something.
It's
It's like,
hilarious. It's hilarious. Like literally the cognitive dissonance because they
it's
just simply
crazy. Yeah.
don't want to believe it is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And like you said, I honestly think people are going to go psychotic, mate. There is so much money on the line here. I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine? Because it's not like Craig hasn't been telling everybody. He's just like, look, ever since 2020, when he got the Tulip Trust returned to him on on the 1st of January, well, 14th of January, he's just like, actually, look, I am Satoshi Nakamoto. Yes, I did create this thing, and it was funny in that one of the arguments that I think I can't remember. Somebody put this argument forward, and they were just like, look, why would Satoshi Nakamoto not admit that he created the system? And the reason being is that in order for Bitcoin to be classified as a commodity, it had to go through a period of neutral organic growth. So if he had come forward and said, oh, by the way, yes, I am Satoshi Nakamoto, that would have undermined its credibility and classification of it being a commodity. And so the reason he chose 10 years as a time frame to try and hide away and not be found is because if you're down a casino and you're playing red or black, the chances of throwing 10 reds in a row is 0.01%. Which means there's a 99.9% chance that it won't happen. So if you let the network grow for 10 years, without any central point of authority, control, or influence, there is a 99.9% chance that no other network will achieve that neutral level of size and growth. And so that's why during that time, he's like, oh, I cannot confirm or deny. I don't think I've not got it on record that he ever said, no, I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. He just simply refused to answer the question. He never said I wasn't. He was just like, I don't really want to admit that.
Yeah, he clearly doesn't want to be like a public person and out on YouTube, for example, talking about Bitcoin.
Well, it was.
I think he'd much rather be behind the scenes, like doing other stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is that. But you've got to remember, all chains of signatures lead back to the Genesis block. All of them. So that's where accountability lies, which means it was essential at some point for him to come out and say, yes, I am Satoshi Nakamoto, because I am the person that started the Genesis block, and therefore all chains of signatures lead back to me. And that means that if there is criminality in the network somewhere, you sort of find the criminality and you can track it back to the Genesis block. If you don't know who created the Genesis block, then there is a point where you're just like, oh, hold on a minute, we don't know. We don't know who this individual was. Whereas if you do know who that individual was, you can track it right back to them and say, look, down the line here somewhere, there was a transaction that was involved in either gun running, child trafficking, drug dealing, something like that. So it was always essential, and he was always going to reveal his identity at some point in time, but he wasn't going to do that until the network had grown for a period of 10 years. That's why the moment he got the Tulip Trust back, he was just like, actually, I can come out now, because there is a 99.9% chance now that no other network will achieve this level of neutral size and growth. So it doesn't matter if I come out and say, yeah, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto. But what it will do is him coming out saying, yes, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto. Suddenly it exposes all these scams. All these other scams that are claiming to be Bitcoin or, claiming to be this and that and whatever. Suddenly he's just like, actually, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto and I can prove it. And so that means every other person who claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto or claimed to be, creating this coin that they say was Bitcoin, suddenly they're all exposed as scammers. Which is why they're trying to shout him down.
Yeah, they're desperate for people not to realize who he is.
Mate, it was the biggest financial fraud in history. Literally, if you look at the size of the or even just BTC itself, let alone the shitcoin market at 1.4 trillion, it dwarfs Tulip Mania. I think that was like the 1500s. It dwarfs
by like 10 times.
Yeah. I mean, Tulip Mania went on for, I think it might have been 3 years or something like that. And then there was the South Sea Company later on, that bubble. And then there was the .com bubble. All those major financial bubbles are dwarfed in comparison to to the crypto market. My God. literally by a magnitude of like 10. It's insane. And someone's going to take the blame for it.
Do you think when BTC goes down, do you think tech stocks will get hit as well? And people will lose faith in these people that have told them BTC is the real Bitcoin and stop funding their companies?
Well, it depends what the tech company does. Personally, I think that when Bitcoin is revealed as BSV, and people understand the significance of what blockchain technology does and how efficient it is, I think it's going to create like a similar market to like the .com when it came out, but it won't be a bubble this time. Well, the share prices might be a bubble because people get overexcited all the time in the market and they pump in, dump in, whatever. But it's going to be a race. Every single technology company is going to be racing to put all of their services on the BSV network. Because when they put their services on the BSV network, everybody knows that their data is now secure. And, well, when I say secure, it's free from cyber security hacks, virus software, and they can get rid of all their own server networks that cost them millions, if not billions of dollars on data efficiency, data securities and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So Bitcoin literally makes every single tech company probably 10 times more efficient than it currently is, maybe even more. In fact, more than that, because not only will they be buying Bitcoin in order to save themselves millions, if not billions of dollars on data efficiencies and data securities, the more Bitcoin they buy, and because it's fixed in supply, it's going up in value. So all these tech companies are going to go literally ballistic charging into BSV. The whole world's going to go absolutely manic. And when the world starts using Bitcoin, they get away from the securities fraud that the central banks are perpetrating on everybody. Which is this toxic fiat currency. So
100%.
Yeah, I've never seen economics like this in my life, literally, where you're buying something in order to use it to save your company millions, if not billions of dollars, and at the same time it's something, it's an asset that's increasing in value. I mean, how much of that stuff are you going to want to buy? And there is nothing, literally nothing available on the market. I think there's like $3.2 million worth of BSV available on the market globally, and that is it. I mean, can you imagine? Like,
yeah.
And it has to literally skyrocket overnight so that the miners can simply flick their hash rate over and continue their operations, because it's the miners that economically sustain Bitcoin. So what Craig and Calvin, I think, are carefully doing is managing it so that these miners can literally flip their hash rate over instantly and still carry on their mining operations, because the price of BSV is so high. So it literally has to go, in order to get the miners to come over, BSV has to flip from like where it is right now to like $40,000 like overnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all it takes is finding out that he's Satoshi Nakamoto in the meeting, and everyone's going to be like running to their laptops, running to their phones to FOMO.
Yeah. And the
like,
miners,
it's gonna in 1 day, 2 days, it's gonna pump so high.
Well, the thing is though, it won't even be a pump. I mean, there will be fluctuations to start with, because the price will go up. But the thing is though, why would anybody sell when they're just like, well, hold on a minute, Craig is Satoshi Nakamoto, he's got all these NFT patents, and Craig has already said, Bitcoin will be no good for speculators. Now, speculators speculate on price movements going up and down. If the price is only going one way, if you attempt to speculate on it, you're going to lose, because you're going to sell thinking that the price is too high, thinking that the price is going to go down, but then the price carries on going. You know, because this thing is fixed in supply. And if you imagine the FOMO going into this, and everybody's already said, I mean, Michael Saylor has already said, Bitcoin should be worth, tens of millions of dollars. And he's right. So even if this thing pops to like 100 grand overnight, well, the fundamental value of this thing is still multiple tens of thousands of dollars. And even then, when it gets to like tens of thousands of dollars, the price doesn't go down. It just simply, the rate of increase just simply diminishes forever, but it doesn't come down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this thing could go absolutely insane. And like you said, I mean, I do feel sorry for people getting wrecked. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm sort of doing my best to educate people on it, because it's kind of
Exactly,
like, you know,
because you'd feel responsible when it comes down.
well, yeah, if you know what's coming, would you not want to warn people about it?
Exactly. If no one warned me, I would be really upset.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine how upset these people are going to be when they do find out what's happened?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like if I got a warning and I didn't take the warning, like you'd be upset with yourself. But if I didn't just straight up didn't get warned and people knew, like I'd be upset with them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and also for all these people who put themselves out there as, you know, influencers or people who knew what they were doing. Yeah. Unaccredited experts. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, I look at the likes of, you know, Simon Dixon, you know, Peter McCormack, you know, Lynn Alden, Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood, like, you know, the Winklevi twins. I mean, my goodness me. You know, talk about having egg on the face. My God.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I will do then. While I'm here, I'll see if I can explain to you how Bitcoin is a commodity. Because it's actually a paradox, and this is what so many people are going to have to try to get their heads around when they first learn about this. So the paradox is this: if someone can start something, it means that someone else can start the same thing anywhere at any time, meaning there is an infinite supply and therefore a fundamental value of zero. And so Bitcoin had to be started by someone because it's digital. You know, so therefore, how do you solve this paradox that if someone started something, then it can be started by somebody else and therefore it's economically worthless? Well, you solve this paradox over time. So in order to be classified as a commodity, there cannot be any central point of authority, control, or influence anywhere in the network, even the starting point. And this is how Craig commoditized the starting point by releasing the white paper on the 31st of October 2008. So in the same way that gold was in the ground waiting to be discovered by someone, all the information that anybody needed in order to start the network was already out there. Literally, everything was explained in the white paper. This is how you start a network. And a reasonable amount of time in law is considered 2 months. And Craig also knew that in order for it to be classified as a commodity, the network had to grow organically. So therefore, he also knew it was really important that the network be started under a pseudonym. And he knew that he was the only one that understood this. And therefore, he gave himself the best chance of starting the network under a pseudonym, but while still having provided a reasonable amount of time for anyone and everyone to start the network themselves. So if you think about it, the two busiest months of the year are the festive period, when people are busy with the festivities, which is November and December. And the white paper being released on the 31st of October is Halloween. So it's an added distraction. So he released the white paper on 31st of October and then let 2 months and 4 days pass. And he's just like, okay, well, you've had your opportunity. I'm going to start the network myself under a pseudonym, and then let the network grow organically for 10 years. And so at the end of 10 years, you've got a completely neutral network that is grown without any central point of authority, control, or influence. And that's how you solve this paradox of the centralized starting point over time, over a period of 10 years. And then not only that, the way it's structured is that, as I said before, you have to have multiple parties who are completely independent of one another, so they're economically competitive to one another, economically sustaining the network, and then you have to have accountability removed from those who are economically sustaining the network and passed on to the users, and you do that with this chain of signatures. So the way you create a commoditized network is to have an economically competitive and a chain of digital signatures with all, for all the users who are using the network. And then after that, so that's how it has to be structured. And then in terms of its the dynamics of the network, first of all, there has to be a locked protocol so that no one can change it, no one controls it, and therefore it can't be changed. You have to have unbounded scale, which is the uncapped block size, so that limitations and restrictions can't be manufactured. because if the network can be if the network has got restrictions and limitations, it means that it can then be manipulated and effectively controlled via manipulation. Whereas if you've got an uncapped block size, you can chuck an unlimited amount of data into that 10-minute window, and there's going to be no queues for transactions being processed or anything like that. So the moment this kind of like they encouraged this 1 megabyte block cap to be, I think it was Hal Finney that encouraged Craig to put it in place, but he put it in place after the network had already started. So Bitcoin was never created with limitations. It was installed afterwards, and that was kind of like the very, very first attack on Bitcoin. And I strongly suspect that Hal was probably a CIA operative, because the CIA wouldn't have known what this thing was at the time. They were just like, okay, we don't know what this thing is yet, we don't know how to corrupt it, but if we can put limitations on the network, that still gives us time to figure out how we're going to corrupt it, because the usage on it is limited. So we've got this window. And then last of all, obviously you need a fixed token supply so that the supply can't be manipulated, inflated or deflated. And that's literally it. And BSV is the only network that is built like that, and none of these other shitcoins know how to scale. None of them. Even XRP is, well, XRP can't scale because it's a completely centralized network, so therefore they're limited by the size of their own servers. But again, their token is an NFT token, and it's economically worthless because everything is on their servers. Ethereum is now proof of stake, which means there's no competition between those who have staked their claim on the network, which means you simply get collusion and centralization. And again, they can't scale because they've just basically ripped off the technology from the white paper and not really fundamentally understood it. So all of these other shitcoins, Ethereum, Ripple, Stellar, all this crap, they can all be built on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only way you can actually secure data in order to make sure that it is safe from cybersecurity acts and virus software. So there's no excuse for Ethereum and XRP, and the services they provide to be built on Bitcoin, because that's what Bitcoin is. It's the foundation layer of all future digital technologies, secured and underpinned by economic principles. I made that one myself. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
God. It's that is so important. So if you're having a discussion with British HODL or any CEOs of large companies who are curious about Bitcoin, that's what you need to explain to them. You're just like, look, if you are a company and you use any digital information whatsoever, particularly if you're financial institutions and your digital transactions actually carry economic value in terms of a bank transfer or a credit transfer in terms of Visa and MasterCard and whatnot, then you cannot afford to lose that bit of digital record, because it actually represents something of value. So therefore, what you can't afford is to have your systems cracked, hacked, altered, changed or deleted, because customers would lose confidence in your business, the share price would collapse, heads would roll, you'd lose your job and all this kind of stuff. So what you need to say to them is, look, if your business uses any form of digital data whatsoever, you cannot afford for that data to be cracked, hacked, altered, changed or deleted. Therefore, it needs to be on the Bitcoin network. And if it needs to be on the Bitcoin network, it means that you can get rid of all your, really expensive server networks, because they're centrally controlled and therefore vulnerable. So you may as well buy Bitcoin because it's going up in value, and you can use the Bitcoin server network instead of your own network, and also because it's fixed in supply, chances are it's going to go up in value. So hey. It's nuts really when you think about it. But have you got any other questions for me on that one? Because I'm more than happy, because I'm trying to sort of simplify this as much as I can for people. I mean, I know it's a bit complicated, but that's what my task
it's a bit
is.
Complicated. So one of the things Craig was talking about is in one of his articles is a lot of these scammy exchanges And if you're buying an asset on one of these exchanges and that asset was previously used for something illegal, then that asset that you bought technically doesn't belong to you. And it could get seized from you. So I was wondering, do you think KuCoin is a good exchange, or do you think they're going to end up in trouble as well?
So that's a good question. So I suspect that it will only be seized if it is still on an exchange, because you don't own it. If that coin is on an exchange, it is that exchange that owns that coin.
No. So he's saying even if you purchase the coin and you're holding the coin, if those funds were previously used for illicit activity, those could be seized from you.
Well,
like if you're to buy from Binance, for example, and that those coins that you're buying was laundered money, and you're buying them after, technically they don't belong to you. They belong to the rightful owner before like the scam took place, or however they were illegally obtained.
So if you personally obtained them legally and lawfully, they are rightfully yours. But you would not have been able to get those coins unless you had exchanged something of value for them. So you either exchange fiat currency for it, or a good or a service or something like that. So the scammer who actually scammed those coins off somebody, when those coins are passed on to you, like you're not the scammer, but you've given something in return for them. So I suspect what the authorities will do is they will either go after the coins that the scammer is still holding, or they will go after the good or service or the assets that the scammer has exchanged those coins for. But they can't come after a third party who is completely innocent.
Okay.
That's what I suspect. But if you've effectively purchased illicit coins from an exchange and the exchange is still holding them, then they're not yours. Unless you've got
If someone else has your private keys, then you're.
Well, an exchange. If you've got your coins on an exchange, they are literally in the exchange's wallet. The exchange owns those coins until you've got possession of those coins in your own non-custodial wallet. They are not yours.
Yeah.
So that's how I suspect. That's my personal understanding of it. So yeah, if you've scammed somebody and you've got those coins, then those coins can be taken off you. But if you've used those coins to purchase goods and services, I mean, obviously people can't take services off you, but if you've used those coins in payment for assets, then they'll go for the assets that you're holding to try and reimburse the person that has been scammed.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, crikey, yeah. Well, also, yeah, I mean, they can't actually take your coins off you if you're holding them in a non-custodial wallet, unless it wouldn't be worth their while putting in a court order to all of the to more than sort of 51% of the mining operations, because it would cost them millions per or in time, and also lost revenue. If they were to sort of follow the orders of the court, so they would have to be reimbursed. It's not going to be cheap. So you'd have to have probably lost tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of coins in order to make it worthwhile. You actually sort of like getting a court order to get them returned to you.
Okay, cool. So like another thing you could probably do is spreading those coins into multiple wallets, because I assume it would take the same amount of time expenditure to seize the coins from one wallet as it would like a second. Like the more wallets it's in, like the more hassle it's going to be for those coins to be seized as well, isn't it?
Well, you're not planning on scamming anybody, are you?
No. I'm saying if you potentially bought one of these coins on a dodgy exchange like KuCoin or Binance or something, then you could spread out your risk, so to say.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be able to take it off you because it's in a non-custodial wallet. You've bought them legitimately. You haven't committed a crime.
Yeah. No, but wouldn't they be able to like 50, like in a court order scenario, 51% attack the network and redistribute coins?
So that again, that would only have to be done via a court order, and the court would look at the evidence.
So like the average investor buying on these dodgy exchanges is okay.
Oh well, I mean, so long as they've actually withdrawn the coins that they've purchased from the exchange and put them in a non-custodial wallet, then yeah, that's fine. But if you've got, if you've sent an exchange some fiat currency and they're just like, okay, well, we're now allocating this amount of coins that you want into your wallet that we're holding on your behalf, they are not your coins. Because it's the exchange that's got the private keys for that wallet.
Do you know when the ETF deadline is?
I've heard that there's. I think one of them is like January the 10th. But I mean, I personally, Gary Gensler, I suspect Gary Gensler knows full well what's happened. And the situation that he's in is that he's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, he can't come out and say what's happened or the bubble's going to pop and it'll be his fault.
Yeah. Well, and also, the SEC is financed by the banks. And the banks don't want people using Bitcoin, so therefore they don't want Gary Gensler to come out and go, oh yeah, Bitcoin is BSV. So he's going to be very careful not to associate a particular ticker symbol with the word Bitcoin. He's just going to say Bitcoin. And, call me a conspiracy theorist, I suspect that the powers that be have probably funded Blockstream. Who have committed this fraud. And so the banks have financed Blockstream indirectly, and so it's the banks that also finance the SEC. So effectively, you've got the financier of both parties, knowing what's gone on, but one of the parties is meant to be responsible for, protecting the public. So I don't know what Gary Gensler, is going to do. I suspect he's just going to say, well, we just said Bitcoin. We told you every other crypto was a security offering besides Bitcoin. The fact that you didn't know that Bitcoin was BSV is your problem. That's kind of how I see this scenario playing out. But I mean,
so that's one of the potential BTC Maxi arguments would be that if the powers that be funded Blockstream in the first place and done all this stuff with BTC in the first place and all these copy and paste blockchains to solve the problems that of the things that BTC can do, why would they allow BSV to succeed? And my answer to that would be that they've done all this and they've whaled up all the supply. Like while they're doing this, they're whaling up the supply on those $50 BSVs, and so they can have centralized control over a decentralized network by owning so much of the supply, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I've seen a wallet that's got like
1.6 million or something.
Like 1.6 million BSV, and I suspect if it is the nefarious entities who have actually managed to get their hands on that many, I suspect that they're probably going to use that supply to add volatility to the market when the price starts taking off. Because all they're trying to do is shake people's confidence in it, But the fact is that $1.6 million, that 1.6 million amount of BSV of BSV is still absolutely nothing and peanuts in comparison to the number of BTC that Satoshi Nakamoto himself is holding. So even if they try to use that 1.6 million to add volatility to the market, I strongly suspect that Satoshi Nakamoto would just simply crush that volatility with BTC, because the only way they can add volatility to the market is by selling their supplies. And if their supplies aren't anywhere near the amount of supply that Satoshi Nakamoto have got, which they're not, then their attempts at adding fluctuations to the market is not going to succeed. I think this is why they wanted Craig to effectively show his hand in the court case, and they were just like, look, you need to reveal your Bitcoin holdings. And Craig was like, actually, no, I don't. It's none of your business. You know, the amount of Bitcoin that I hold is nothing to do with anything. You know, and possession.
Like, it's no one's business. That should be his private information.
Yeah, and also, you know, again, possession is not proof of ownership. So it's just like, well, you know, having these coins is, you know, how much of this coinage you hold is legally and lawfully is utterly superfluous to the situation. But you know what it does give you is economic power. But there's nothing, you know, there's nothing illegal or unlawful about having economic power, and that's nobody's business.
Yeah.
So it's going to be entertaining to say the least. Come January.
So do you think this is all going to be viral information in January? Like everyone's going to, like the whole crypto space is going to be talking about it, or do you think they'll try and stay hush hush about it?
Well, you know, again, speculation, but the fact is, you know, I mean, look who's involved in it. You know, MicroStrategy, Meta, Twitter, ARK Investment. I mean, how can this? Yeah, how can this not be big news? The BTC core developers running it.
So far, it's not big news. Like they're avoiding it as much as they can.
Yeah. Kraken's involved with it. Coinbase is involved with it. I mean, yeah, I suspect they're purposely trying to suppress it. You know, but the fact is, someone's going to leak it because it's big news. It's massive news, especially in the crypto space.
Yeah, it's the only news, basically.
yeah. I mean, this is literally the big one. There is no case bigger than this. Literally, the entire crypto space hinges on this court case. And again, you know, people are speculating at the moment, but it's just like, well, you know, have you got any evidence that he's not Satoshi Nakamoto? And if you have got evidence that he's not Satoshi Nakamoto, let's see it. Bring it forward. Prove your claim. You know, otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they have no evidence that he's not. So one of the arguments they have is that people don't have any evidence that he is, but there's no evidence for sure that he's not. And he's shown that he's very well researched. He's got all these degrees. He's really going hard on his blog. Like, I don't think many people realize how much stuff he's actually producing.
Well, have you seen the paper that he wrote on September 15th of 2007? Like literally a year before the white paper was released, where he literally uses the moniker Satoshi Nakamoto.
Wow.
Oh, mate, I'll send it to you. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you'll need to send me that, yeah.
15th of September 2007, prior to the Bitcoin white paper release on the 31st of October 2008, Craig Wright published a white paper under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto titled An In-Depth Analysis of Proof-of-Work Calculations in the Hashcoin White Paper, Exploring Alternative Strategies. And within the white paper, technology, now called blockchain, is first described as time chain. It's crazy. And then there's another one here. Jan 14th, 2008. So again, prior to the launch of the white paper, Craig Wright publishes a paper to the SANS Institute for GIAC certification titled Electronic Contracts in an Insecure World, and the paper contains information on what is now known in relation to blockchain technology as smart contracts.
Oh, another question I have.
Yeah.
So I've not been able to find this online anywhere. So apparently Craig bought Bitcoin.org with his credit card.
Yep.
Like in 2008. Mm-hmm. How did the BTC people end up getting access to Bitcoin.org, and how are they running it now? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, good question. So that was Cobra, or you know, a pseudonymous name called Cobra, who was able to get control of it. I mean, that would actually be a really good story to cover. Probably one of the best people to talk about that would be Kurt Wuttock Jr. His education on this stuff is nothing but, you know, kind of like just keeps him in a box and doesn't let him sort of like educate people on this. But he will probably tell you the story, because I think the story involves Greg Maxwell and loads of other people as well from Bitcoin Core. I mean, it's really apparently, you know, from what I can remember them saying, it was really underhanded as to how they did it, because they also got control of his email address, which was,
his Satoshi email address or his Craig Wright email address?
The Satoshi email address. So the address that Satoshi Nakamoto used in order to first publish the white paper was Satoshi
So they hacked him
N.
and changed his password, basically.
Yeah. Really, really underhand. I suspect there would have been some very, very skilled cyber criminals who were able
like
to.
Someone at GoDaddy, for example, like they had an insider, and they're like, "Okay, we're just gonna take over his website."
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Wow.
that's what I suspect. You know, I mean, this lot have been onto it since the very beginning. You know, really underhand. But I mean, it's been like when you sort of step back and look at the bigger picture, you're just like, whoa, this is like a chess match. This is like a battle of wills, because you had Gizmodo magazine and Wired magazine publishing articles back in 2015 going, oh, here's all the evidence that you need that to prove that Craig Wright invented Bitcoin. So they were just like, right, we need to expose this guy, and then maybe, do him, because I think there's the statute of limitations is like 8 years, and they've made up this bullshit law about how somebody isn't allowed to invent or create money. But when the statute of limitations passes, it's like, well, I did that 8 years ago, so you can't do anything to me now.
Can't go after them anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You should have stopped it back then. But the fact is, you kept this thing going, and so they and again, it was on the same day that Gizmodo and Wired magazine released their articles that the Australian authorities raided Craig's house. But luckily he'd already scarpered by then and got away with it. But they were seriously trying to expose him back then, and that's when Craig was just like, look, the network is still growing. I can't, for the sake of Bitcoin's classification and economic value, I can't come out and say that I am Satoshi Nakamoto. So F off, in other words. But then I think when they realise, oh, hold on a minute, he's purposely arranged for the Tulip Trust to be returned to him on the 1st of January 2020 to prove to the world that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. Oh shit, he's going to do it then. Oh right, and when he does do it then, that's when we need to discredit him. So everybody's been backtracking. First of all, Craig was just like, no, I'm not admitting to being Satoshi Nakamoto, but now I am. And they were just like, oh, he is Satoshi Nakamoto, but now he's not. Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, literally,
so in the beginning, they were going after him like, this is Satoshi Nakamoto, we're going to get him, we're going to put him in jail for creating this Bitcoin thing.
Yeah.
And then when they realized it was too big to stop, then they're like, oh no, actually, no, he's not Satoshi Nakamoto.
Well, yeah, kind of, because the statute of limitations had passed, so they couldn't do him for creating money because they hadn't stopped it. But the thing is, one of the reasons that maybe to start with, they could have gone after him because he created it, because he was the central creator, which means, and if you're a central creator, it means that what you've done is created a security, which is why it was really important for Bitcoin to be classified as a commodity and not have any central point of authority, control, or influence while the network was growing. And that's why he used a Japanese pseudonym, because Japan is an island nation with a large enough population that would enable his identity to remain a mystery for long enough, and also an added language barrier. And Japan is technologically advanced, highly developed, and politically neutral. So therefore it gave him the most credibility as the author of the white paper, because if he'd chosen a name from a third world country, people would have had suspicions about his academic qualifications and where he got the knowledge from to produce such a paper, and they would be wondering why he's not coming forward to receive such academic acclaim from developing such a technology like that. If he'd used a Chinese name or a Russian name, again, they would have had suspicions about his political motivations. If he'd used a Western name, they would have been able to track him down. So using a Japanese name gave him the best chance of remaining, of his identity remaining a mystery for long enough while the network was going through this phase of commoditization. And this is why they were trying to expose him, back in 2015, because it would have potentially discredited Bitcoin's classification as a commodity, and that's why he never admitted who he was back then. So they were initially just like, oh yeah, we need to admit that you are this, you are that, and he's just like, we'll prove it, and then he scarpered to the UK, and it's just like, well, have you committed any crime? Have you caused any harm, injury, or loss? Well, no. So therefore, if there is no victim, there is no crime. End off. Who's the victim in this? All I've done is created blockchain technology. But then again, when he got the Tulip Trust returned to him, and he needs to get rid of all the speculation and all the scammers in the market, that's when he can come out and say, actually, yes, I am Satoshi Nakamoto, and all these scammers are just like, oh shit, no, you're not. It's crazy, man. Anyway, I've just seen that we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. This has been awesome, okay. But it's probably.
Okay, can we do one more question?
Yeah, of course, you can. Yeah.
Okay. So Dan Pena said that Bitcoin is a Russian conspiracy to take down the dollar. What do you think about that? Because I saw a tweet recently, and Craig was speaking in Russian to add some fuel to the fire.
Oh. Well, the thing is, if Bitcoin had been created with any nefarious intention whatsoever, it would not have been designed with a chain of digital signatures. That's how I'd respond to that. It's the chain of digital signatures that makes everybody on the network honest, because ultimately every transaction is traceable, but the amount of time and economic resources that would have to go into tracing a transaction is absolutely huge. So therefore, the crime has to fit the economic time and resources that are required to go in and solve it. So nobody. If you went down and I suppose if you bought a packet of weed on the corner with Bitcoin, spending 10 quid on it, nobody's really going to give a monkeys. Nobody's going to give a monkeys if you went down the store and bought a packet of frozen peas that the government have decided because they're not genetically modified, they're going to make them illegal. Nobody cares. But if you're involved in spraying the skies with chemtrails and child trafficking, gun running, drug dealing, on a massive scale, which the powers that be are, then people are going to put the time into track you down, and be bribing politicians and law enforcement officers and all this kind of stuff. Suddenly it exposes everything, and that's what they don't want. So anybody who says to you, oh, do you think it was purposely designed to cause harm, injury, or loss to anybody in particular, all you simply say is, look, if that was the case, it wouldn't have been designed with a chain of digital signatures, because anybody who does anything nefarious on the network can ultimately be traced.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's it. Well, tell you what, if we can have a chat, stay on the line. Actually, tell you what, we'll chat. I'll just get myself another drink of water and stuff. But we'll leave it there for now. We'll have to do this again, mate, because this has been awesome. I've actually really enjoyed this. So
yeah, me too.
I will stop recording right now.
I'm going to stop recording as well. Hold on.
Yeah, I'll just tell everybody. Hope you all enjoyed listening to this show. This has been great. We'll do another one soon, hopefully. And as ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.